This broadcast is part of the IC Robots radio network. Visit icrobots.com for this and many other nerd/nostalgia-related podcasts. You won't be sorry for long.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire.
I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up, don't wanna grow up. I don't wanna grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with.
Welcome to the Toys R Us Report, recorded live from inside the Pooptronic Cellular Undersea Base 0001, 6.5 miles below the ocean surface. When you bust caps, make sure they kryptonite caps, cause he's the man of steel swatting bullets like gnats. He's your host, IC Robots.
If you're looking for me, you better check under the sea. It is your dude, IC Robots, and I'm not a hero, but I do sacrifice a bit of my week. Each and every week, your week, a bit less week. And this week, it is gonna get so much less week. We're gonna talk Halloween. We're gonna talk about a movie I saw called something Hotel Royale. It had John Hamm in it. It was a lot of fun. A dude fell asleep. We're gonna do a bunch of cool stuff. It's gonna be great. Let me find this thing in the drive. Hold it now. Hit it.
You were listening to the Toys R Us Report. You can't mess with us cause we just too hot. So all that mess you pop, I suggest you stop.
All-powerful Blacula, the Black Prince of Shadows, rises from his grave to stalk the earth again, quenching his thirst for blood in a death trap for his enemies. Blacula returns. Blacula, more horrifying than Dracula. Queen Blacula Scream, all new, rated PG, starring Pam Grier, the sensuous godmother of coffee. You were terrified at Blacula. Now the Prince of Shadows returns in Scream, Blacula Scream.
All right, I am back, and this is the first bit of the show. I am in this makeshift recording studio that Emily put together over near where they clean out the chum buckets. It's not that great. You can still hear the gurgling, you can still hear the beeping, but at least we were able to set up the soundboard and the overhead mic and all that stuff. Emily has a bit of a booth. It's kind of a closet, really, but it has a window. I can see her in there. What's up? I can see Ensign Kate over there. We got an area closer to the sink that she records from. It's all good. Blacula is a super fun film. I had this period of my life in which I was crazy into blaxploitation films. It started with me seeing Shaft on like TNT, and it led me down this rabbit hole of slaughters and truck turners and things like that. I was just into it. They had this rawness that the mainstream movies I was seeing at the time didn't have. It was great. I remember the first time I saw Blacula, it was either on like a TNT, like maybe like a Joe Bob Briggs. I guess I don't remember it that well, but what I do remember is the influence that it had on us. My bro and I were up late, sitting on the couch watching TV. This was probably like in between bouts of Sega Tecmo Bowl or something, or maybe some Tom Lasorda baseball. We were crazily into sports game, and I imagine like we just had a hard round of Tecmo Bowl. I was the Bears with Matt Suey and Jim McMahon, and he was somebody else, maybe the Raiders with Bo Jackson. I don't know, something like that. And then there it was, a movie with a black Dracula. It was just it was just the greatest thing that I'd ever seen. I couldn't believe that somebody was cool enough and smart enough to make a movie where you cast this super cool black Dracula. It was great. I would love it. I would love it if Mego came out with the Blacula Mego. I know that there have been some in the past. I recall hearing somebody talk about one once that was high valued. It's not a Mego, like one of these Mego style 8-inch figures that people lovingly come out with. I do recall that. But man, this led us into this search for like Blackenstein and a black werewolf and a black creature from the Black Lagoon, and a lot of these things existed. There was this whole universe of film that I was happy to explore. We would go down to the video store that was next door to A&B Market. A&B Market is now Oliver's. The video store is now Sunnyside Cottage, where they sell little knickknacks and stuff. But at one time it was the store that we would rent from, and they had some of these movies. You know, they had Shaft. They had Shaft Goes to Africa. They had stuff like that. We had to search deeper to get into the sequel to Blacula Scream, and things like that. But we were able to come up and discover a bunch of these cool things. I could still remember that video store really distinctly. It had wood paneling, and they had the shelves with the videos in the videos are removed from the boxes. The boxes were full of styrofoam. They cut little styrofoam shapes to put inside, and you would grab a tab from the front. They'd have all these hooks, and you would grab a tab off one of the hooks and bring it up to the counter, and they had a number on it that would correspond to a movie that they kept behind the counter. I remember my friend Janelle worked at the video store, and she would sometimes kick me down free rentals if there was nobody there. This was like a dream job at the time. I'll be honest to you, I would skip school a lot and come home, and I would go and rent a video and watch it. And she had this job over there, and she was the only person a lot of times in the store. It was just her and the videos, watching them up there. It was like Clerks, you know. It was a scene like that. And I was really jealous of her. This place had the adult room with the swinging saloon doors, you know, the ones like like an old West saloon that you would go inside of. Those things made such a loud noise that anytime somebody would come out with some kind of a feature that they've selected, you would hear the doors like whoosh by and swing, and everybody would turn and look to see who it was. But to get back to the point, Blacula was a lot of fun. I remember this one scene where Blacula is out at night, and he's in his velveteen cape. He looks like how a Dracula dresses, and he's out at night walking the boulevard, and first he gets propositioned by a prostitute, and then he rebukes her. He is above that. He moves on, and he gets accosted by her pimps. They try to shake him down for some bread, and Blacula's like, well, I don't have any bread with me, and I think that you should leave me alone. And the pimps, they start jaw-jacking at him, and one of them punches him in the stomach. But of course, he's hard like iron. He's super powered, and when he lands the blow, Blacula looks down, and then he lifts his head, and when he does, he's no longer the person you've seen. He transforms into the monstrous Blacula, and he goes to work. You can actually see this bit on YouTube. I went and looked it up. I wanted to see that part again, and the entire scene is available up there on the tube. Blackenstein was dope too. I remember the story was that the brother was wounded in Vietnam, and that his girlfriend goes to Dr. Stein to have him reborn, and reborn he is. I found a bit of a trailer for that on the tube. Let me play that. It's definitely worth watching. The acting in it is very reminiscent of Amber Waves in Boogie Nights, in the scene where she is first introduced to Dirk Diggler.
Dr. Stein would like to see you in his laboratory.
What brings you to California?
Well, I just arrived from New York. My fiancé was wounded in Vietnam.
And the doctors there wrote and told me he was being transferred to the Veterans Hospital here. He was seriously wounded when a landmine went off under him. Eddie, this is Dr. Stein. The doctor I studied with when I was in school. No. Dr. Stein, look at this.
Weird, man. Go look for the bit that I just played. You can see it on YouTube. Seeing it is better than hearing it. Even though those grunts are pretty impressive. At the time, this was really like my first foray into independent film, because these movies were truly indie. They were truly low budget, and they were truly real in a way that kind of belied their silliness, I guess. They just played so raw in the way that they were unpolished. You know, I was used to the studio film. This was really before the big breakthrough of indie films, so everything had this veneer on it, and everything had this polish on top of it that these movies didn't have. It made these movies seem all that more thrilling, all that more exciting. If you haven't dig deep into blaxploitation type cinema, I definitely recommend it. At the very least, go see Blacula, because it is an honest to gosh good movie. It's not one that you're making fun of in a kind of poke your finger at it and laugh at the silliness way. It's legitimately good. Let's move into the segment known as At the Movies.
In a moment, At the Movies without Ebert, Siskel, or even that Jude Roper, but you got icy robots, so that's something, right?
First time to the El Royale?
7 strangers.
Howdy.
7 secrets.
Would you mind opening up the door?
No, I ain't gonna do that.
1 connection.
Too quiet in here, don't you think?
Bad Times at the El Royale is the best thriller in years.
No one here is innocent.
It's daring and original. 4 stars.
You know something, don't you?
Bad Times at the El Royale. Rated R. October 12th.
We saw Bad Times at the El Royale on a Monday morning at the downtown theater. We were in theater number 6, which is the only one that we have seen so far. They've recently renovated. They've added the recliners and all that stuff. But we've only ever been in theater 6. There are, I think, 7 screens downstairs, and we've only been inside 1. We've been looking forward to this since I first started seeing the trailers for this. It's kind of a mystery sort of deal. The mystery is you're trying to figure out what's going on at the El Royale. The setting of the place is Lake Tahoe, which is a place I've been many times. I really like Lake Tahoe. The scenery is beautiful. It snows there. You can sled. You can have a good time. But there's also casinos and all kinds of fun stuff. It's really great. It's like a much smaller Reno that's in the mountains. It's gorgeous. The hotel that the movie is set in is also gorgeous. This is during the 60s. It has that amazing 60s Rat Pack ambiance. The movie is absolutely beautiful. It stars John Hamm, Dakota Johnson, Jeff Bridges. There are all sorts of people in it. It is an ensemble cast. Nick Offerman. I liked it, but I didn't love it. When the movie starts, it leads you into the El Royale, and it takes a long time to get going. It has that technique of movie making that like a Quentin Tarantino uses, where something happens and then you go back and you see it again through the eyes of a different character. So it takes a long time to get through a short amount of storytelling. None of it is bad, mind you. It takes a real long time to get going. I may not have been in the perfect mindset for this movie. I kind of want to mention that going in. I was really, really tired. I could not sleep at all the night before. So when we got to the theater and the recliner started to go back, I was fighting to keep my eyes open. It was a red alert fire night up there in Santa Rosa, California. The winds were high. The heat was high, and we live so near to the hills where the fires were that we gotta stay on mental alert when they let you know that the activities are that in which there could lead to a fiery situation. So I didn't get as much sleep as I would have liked, but that doesn't mean that the movie was moving along at a brisk pace either, because it really doesn't. But once it gets going at the end, there is a lot of fun. John Hamm is good as he is in just about everything. I cannot say that I've ever seen Dakota Johnson in anything. I think she was in the movie about Facebook. She was Mark Zuckerberg's girlfriend, but I've never seen her as the lead in anything. I know that she's the star of the 50 Shades of Grey series. I haven't seen any of those. They don't really do it for me. They seem a little silly, so I haven't seen one. But you see Dakota Johnson all over the place. I see her in commercials. I see her on TV. So she kind of has like this superstar appeal. When I see her, she seems like a real movie star. I thought that she was pretty good in this. Chris Hemsworth is in it as well. I don't know what to say, especially about this movie. A lot of really cool things happen. The scenery is beautiful. There is a mystery that unfolds logically. It all makes sense and it all comes together, but it feels like there's something lacking from the movie. What that something is, I don't know, but it's that something special that like a Quentin Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez puts into a similar movie, and it turns out to be much better than the El Royale. I really, really did want to like this. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. This opened the same week as First Man, the Ryan Gosling movie about Neil Armstrong, which is getting great reviews, but there was never a question ever that this was the movie that we were going to go see because we were looking forward to it. And while we both, me and the old wife, liked it, we didn't love it in the way that we thought that we would. So let's take a look and see right quick what they're saying about this one over on the Tomatoes. It was directed by and written by Drew Goddard, who you might know from Cabin in the Woods. He wrote The Martian, 10 Cloverfield Lane. He has a lot of good movies under his belt. It clocks in at a whopping 140 minutes. It was put out by 20th Century Fox. It's rated R. Presently, right now as we speak, the critics have it they got it at 72%, which means 7.2 out of every 10 critics who saw it liked it, and the people are at 75%. So it's about the same, more or less. So with all that said, on the good old-fashioned Source Magazine mic meter, with 1 being a dud and 5 being an all-time classic, I am going to give Bad Times to El Royale a good solid 3 mics.
3 mics.
Wonder Woman, starring Linda Carter, and Incredible Hulk, starring Bill Bixby, will return at their regular times next Friday evening on most of these stations.
This week on the show, here do I See Robot is going to talk about various Halloween topics, from Night of the Living Dead to Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Now, originally, I was going to fill this space up with my tales of the Sinister Creature Con in Sacramento, where I was going to meet the great Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks. I was I was super stoked about this, but she pulled out of the appearance at the last minute, so we decided not to head down, especially after the folks who put on the con. They went ahead and comped us tickets to the next con, where she is going to be doing a makeup appearance. So that was super nice of them, and I appreciate that. The folks at the Sinister Creature Con are on the up and up. I have nothing but good things to say about those guys, but sadly, we didn't go, and that left me with maybe like 20-25 minutes of show that I needed to fill. I sat down and I did some thinking, and I said, hey, I could just tell some tales of Halloween. I could fill you in on what I did as a trick-or-treater, what a trick-or-treat was like for me, things I would do in and around Halloween. I may have told some of these stories before in different places. I know not. I only have so many tales in me. I'm always getting new ones, but there are only so many from the past. I was not Mr. Costume back in the olden days. Through most of elementary school, I went as Dracula. I just had a vinyl cape, and I would paint my face white and wear those teeth. Generally, I would just wear my just normal gear, like my jeans and my t-shirt, and maybe even a baseball hat. I don't know. I have never really been into wearing costumes. I don't know why. I think it's definitely cool to wear one. It's never appealed to me to be on that side of the show, as it were. I like looking at people in costume quite a bit. I dig like cosplay and all that stuff. It's fun to check people out, but I never really feel like I want to be the one who's wearing the costume that you're checking me out, if that makes sense. I think that's basically what it was. So I was Dracula, like all through elementary school. And then after that, I didn't dress up again for a few years, but I then started hanging out with this kid, Andy, who we talked about in the My Friend Andy episode of This Boring Life. He and I would spend a lot of time playing army. We spent a lot of time playing soldiers, dressing like soldier boys. He for whatever reason had a ton of like army surplus stuff. He had jackets, pants, belts. He even had like holsters and helmets and all this stuff. And he had like free access to use this as he saw fit. It wasn't like it was on, a collectible display kind of thing. This was his stuff, and we would wear this stuff all the time. We were always crawling through the back of the complex or going through the creek wearing our army clothes. And when it came around to Halloween, we would basically just army clothes it up again. We'd do it a bit more. Like a lot of times we would just wear like jackets and maybe our jeans and maybe like a holster and a helmet or something. But when it was Halloween, we would go full bore. We would wear pants, army shirts. To me, this stuff always looked like maybe like Korean War, maybe like Vietnam era stuff. It was the olive drab canvas, and the khakis and that kind of stuff. And we would go all out on Halloween. Sometimes we would even paint like black stripes under our eyes, like we were playing outfield for the A's. One of my Halloween traditions was watching Night of the Living Dead on KFTY TV 50.
You used to really be scared.
For the first time.
Johnny.
In many years.
You're still afraid. They're coming for you, Bob.
Right here on KFTY Channel 50, television, north of the gate.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Night of the Living Dead.
That was our local Santa Rosa channel. It was the one that you could easily get on an old school antenna TV. We live in a valley up there on the Earth base, and it's hard to get any TV or any radio. It has to be super duper close. And Channel 50 broadcast right out of Santa Rosa, so you could pick it up on any TV. It was the only thing you could possibly pick up on one of those Watchman TVs. I knew a few people who had one, and there was no way it was reaching over the hills and all the way to San Francisco, but it would always get TV 50, and TV 50 played Night of the Living Dead every Halloween at, I'm thinking, either 4 or 5 o'clock. This was that gap of time after you got home from school, but before you went out again trick-or-treating. Maybe I would touch up the stripe under my eye, or maybe I would gussy up my army gear, or maybe slick back my Dracula hair a bit before putting my baseball hat over it. I don't know. There was always that time, and you would maybe eat dinner. I don't know. You do whatever you do. But during that period, in the background of just about every Halloween I remember from junior high all the way up through high school was Night of the Living Dead, the George Romero classic. I'm not like Mr. Scary Monster movie dude. I like a good horror movie. I tend to go more toward the survival horror. I think the kind where a bunch of dudes are trapped and some people are trying to kill them, or something's trying to get them and they have to get away. The kind where it's more like home invasions or whatever. That stuff scares me to death more so than like a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees. Now that stuff is scary too, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't appeal to me in that way. So at the time, I didn't watch a lot of scary movies. I've seen I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 1, I think part of that. I know I've seen parts of different Friday the 13th movies, but they gave me nightmares. But for whatever reason, Night of the Living Dead was something that I could take. Maybe it was because it was in black and white. That was something that was a bit uncommon at the time, which is weird to think about, because if you think before that, everything was black and white, because all I had in my room was a black and white TV. Sure, they had the color in the living room that I would watch a lot, but I also watched the black and white in my room, my 12-inch black and white that I would check out Channel 50, but for whatever reason, when you would see a movie on the main living room TV that was in black and white, it didn't seem as real as a movie that was in color. So I don't know. I was less scared for whatever reason. I was into zombies for a super duper long time before the zombie thing kind of exploded. I still do like zombie things, but I am at the point where most of the scenarios I was interested in have been played out in some form of media or another. I read The Walking Dead every month. It's one of the comics that I really look forward to. To be honest, it may be the comic that I look forward to the most, because it's on this amazingly long run with the same writer and the same artist, and it's the same story. So I really feel like I need to follow along with these guys, this Rick, this I don't want to name any names besides Rick. I don't want to give away spoilers to people who watch the TV show and don't read the book, so I'm not gonna do that. I like the TV show too. I liked all of Romero's movies from Dawn of the Dead to Diary of the Dead. I used to just love a zombie story. It was so fun to think, what would I do to survive this scenario? I think that's what everybody does when they watch one. But there's a period where zombies were kind of on the obscure tip, before maybe 28 Days Later came out. That movie was a big turning point. It kind of made zombies cool again. I can remember when I went to see that. Me and the old wife had not seen a lot of scary movies together because she wasn't really into it. I wasn't really into it, but we both kind of thought zombies were cool, and 28 Days Later was getting rave reviews, so we went to check it out. It was playing at UA6. That was in the period after it it was no longer a United Artists Cinema, but it wasn't yet the rundown $3 theater. It was still a big one in the chain. So they had 28 Days Later, and we went to see it, and it was so scary. The idea of fast zombies at first was super duper scary. Now when you see one, it's startling, but it's not the same, because then you start thinking about the debate between fast zombies and slow zombies and all that stuff. But at the time when I saw them, it was super scary, because you're like, there's no way you could get away from one of these guys, these rage zombies. With them running full speed, it's like you're done for. They'll be coming at you from all directions. It's so harsh. The shambling zombies, they seem like fairly easy to get away from. You just gotta keep up a decent pace. But I guess the idea is they never tire, and eventually you do. So you got to find some way to evade them. If you ask me where I stand on fast zombies versus slow zombies, it is as this. I prefer a slow zombie, but if you wanted me to be real with it, which is silly to say when you're talking about animated corpses, but if you wanted me to be real with it, I think that I would make it so the zombies, now this is if I were writing the tale, where the zombies at first, they might have like a bolt of speed, but eventually they wear down as they tear tendons, as they injure themselves running frantically, as they fall down, as they whatever. So some zombies may be faster than others naturally, and they may hold up their speed a bit longer, but running full speed at somebody isn't going to be a very sustainable way to go through life. You're going to break up your knees. You're going to hurt your feet. It's going to eventually lead you to walking. I think it's going to get you to shambling pretty quickly, but that's neither here nor there. Now that's how I would look at it if it were like a logical, real deal. Like the zombies on Walking Dead would not be running at this point. They would be barely moving. It's been so long. They've rotted away to nothing. But maybe a brand new, fresh zombie may be able to run fast. Let's check out a spooky wookie commercial, and we'll be back in a sec to we'll talk about something else.
Wanna go psycho with me, Elvira, here at the Bates Motel? Look for me wherever they sell mug root beer. And enter the Go Psycho with Elvira contest. You can be my guest at Universal Studios in Hollywood for a monstrous bash at the Bates Motel. Shower anyone? This Halloween, go psycho with Elvira and win a party with mug root beer and me.
I love my mug.
I love it.
Another spooky related thing that I was like crazily into was Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Look, let's not beat around the bush. Elvira has some tangible asset that draw the eye, but beyond that, what gave her such a lasting appeal was that goofy Valley Girl personality that she had. I think that Elvira, beyond being a beauty, was also a pretty talented improv performer. I remember, I'm thinking maybe like 85 or 86, MTV did these Elvira Halloween special. I went to look for these on YouTube, and I heard a commercial for one, and it was like going to be Elvira, and then right after that was a live Alice Cooper concert.
Hi there, guys and ghouls. It's me, Elvira, the Queen of Halloween, and tonight I'm having my Halloween party right here at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific.
After Elvira shows you the weirdest, scariest videos ever made, the terror continues with Alice Cooper live in Detroit at midnight Eastern.
That was really great. But on those specials, Elvira did a lot of like on the street kind of stuff where she was out there improving these weird little question and answer sessions with various goofballs on the street. it must have been like a traffic stopping site. You know, imagine you're driving by and there's Elvira, and she's wearing the Elvira dress. She has the Elvira hair. She's wearing those shoes. I can only imagine. Elvira is played by an actress known as Cassandra Peterson. She's a redhead in real life. I found that fascinating when I first found out. I of course got into Elvira pre-internet, so it was hard to get any kind of information about like the actual person behind the role like it is today. So it seemed as if she was Elvira. She was Elvira all the time. It wasn't like she was like Roseanne off of TV's Roseanne. And you knew that sometimes she was Roseanne, sometimes she was like this other Roseanne. That may not have been the best example, but we always saw Elvira as Elvira. And I remember as I started to get into the internet and when everyone was able to find things out, I was surprised to see that she was this redheaded lady named Cassandra Peterson. I just found that wild, man. I don't know. She kind of got her start as sort of a burlesque dancer. If you ever give it a minute, go over and give her Wikipedia page a read. She had so many wacky adventures, and I don't know if any of this is true, but it says she dated Elvis, she dated Tom Jones, she during her teenage years worked as a go-go dancer in a local gay bar. She did all kinds of wacky stuff. She was a showgirl in Vegas. She was part of a improv comedy group. She has led a super interesting life. I'm sure she's put out a biography. That might be an interesting read as far as celebrity bios go. She was actually auditioning for the role of Ginger in a made-for-TV movie of the Gilligan's Island story when she was discovered on the set by the owners of the TV station in Los Angeles, which was, let me find the proper call letters for this, because this is really important. They are the ones who essentially put the whole Elvira thing together. She played the role, but they're the ones that came up with the whole thing. It was KHJ TV in Los Angeles.
There's this weird guy on Channel 9 this fall, and I guarantee he'll give you nightmares. His name is Freddy something or other, but immediately following Freddy, I'm back. Now, if I'm Mistress of the Dark and Freddy's gonna give you nightmares, I would think twice before falling asleep Saturday night. Remember, don't miss A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Nightmare, and me, Elvira, Saturdays beginning at 10 p.m. Nowhere else but Channel 9.
Elvira's Movie Macabre tonight at 11.
When KHJ launched Elvira's movie program, the original idea was to relaunch an earlier horror host program. This was a show hosted by a gal named Vampira. There are striking similarities between Vampira and Elvira. You can hear it right there in the name, but when they approached the actress who played Vampira about coming back, she wasn't into it, so they decided to go ahead with the show on their own, and they stumbled upon Cassandra Peterson at the auditions for the Gilligan's Island movie, and they probably saw her. They said, there she is. There's our Elvira. They offered her the role. She took it. And a couple years later, Vampira sued them, and they took it to court. They fought it out, and the network won because they found that while there are similarities in the characters, she is not representing herself as Vampira, so while they are similar, they are not the same. For a while back in the 80s, Elvira was everywhere. She was in commercials, she had the show. Eventually she got a movie of her own. I had a copy of that off of HBO on VHS for the longest time. It's a funny movie. It's silly. It's kind of cute. I think on the surface, if I if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it 3 mics, but in some ways, due to the power of repeat viewing, it could theoretically be a 5 mic movie Hall of Famer. It's fine. It's a fun. I don't know what to say about that. I've always been a fan of Elvira. That goofy Valley Girl attitude just always, I don't know, man, made me laugh. I think she's all right. When I would trick or treat as a kid, I would only hit up like a few houses around my area. Dig that fast change. I didn't know where else to go with Elvira. I dig her. I got a little bit into that, not too much. It's fine. I did not trick or treat a ton. I would go out, hit the block, hit a couple other blocks. There were kids who were like, I got this pillowcase. I am not coming home until this pillowcase is full. I was not that dude. I was just too lazy to go miles and miles and miles. I knew dudes who were like, I'm going to hit the entirety of Rincon Valley. I would be like, I'm going to hit my block a couple blocks over. But what I was into was the opportunity to hang out outside the house at night during the week. It seems very rare that Halloween falls on the weekend.
This year Halloween fell on a weekend. Me and Ghetto Boys are trick-or-treating, robbing little kids for bad.
It's usually during the week, so the opportunity to go out and just goof around during a school night was just too much to pass up. While me and Andy and this dude Mike, we would kind of like skulk around the neighborhood, and we would do stuff that might be slightly mischievous, but not fully mischievous. We would steal people's pumpkins. That was one thing we were into. We were notorious pumpkin smashers. I look back on that with some minor degree of regret, but as an adult now, I do see that it's possible that your jack-o'-lantern could get smashed. It's possible that somebody could come up on Halloween and kick it right in its stupid face. It's the nature of Halloween. It's something that you have to accept. You can't take it too hard. I figure nowadays if somebody's gonna steal our pumpkin, and it does happen from time to time that some neighborhood teens run off with our pumpkin, that's okay with me, because that's just like one less trip I have to make over to the compost bin or to the backyard to smash it onto the ground myself. We'll sometimes smash a pumpkin onto the ground in one of our flower beds. We have like these elevated beds that we sometimes grow veggies in, and we'll smash a pumpkin into that and see if anything comes from it. It's hard to grow like a nice round pumpkin. We'll get like things that look more like gourds or zucchinis. Maybe there's a trick to it. I don't know, but I think I'm going to end this segment. This wasn't a bad little improv Halloween segment, I don't think. But we shall now move into the final bit of the show. But first,
this is the Projectionist from the Saturday Frights podcast. You are listening to the Toys R Us report.
You made it this far. It's time. The final segment. The IC Robots Radio pop culture / toy news / other boring stuff informational moment.
We are back for the final segment of the show. Big shout out to our dude Vic Sage and his dude the Projectionist. He recently came out with his Halloween special, and your dude, that is me himself, I was asked to come down to the Haunted Drive-In and talk Halloween with those guys. The John Carpenter film, it was a dynamite episode. I'm not the only guy there. There's Rockford J. There's just a bunch of other dudes. It's a terrific show. You can find that over on The Retroist. You could find it over on Vic's Twitter. That is at VicSage2005. VicSage like like the famous question of DC fame, we picked up a patron this week. He goes by the name of Stuntman Mike. Stuntman Mike, I want to give you a big shout out. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for helping keep us in oxygen down here on the bottom of the sea. I appreciate that. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everything, man. You're a good dude. Big shout out to Stuntman Mike. We also posted up the J-Coin / sticker pack. You can find that on icrobots.com. That's $9.99, but you get a J-Coin button, you get the Masked Men sticker, you get the Ripley's sticker, you get a couple of the VHS labels, and you get 2 original Video Droid stickers from the famed Video Droid store of Santa Rosa. You can get all that, like I said, for $9.99. That's a bargain. That's shipped. If you go over to Redbubble, stickers are like $4 shipped each. So this is the way to go, and it helps to support the show. So go to icrobots.com, scroll down a bit, maybe go to the sidebar. You go down a bit, there's a category that says merch. You can find it there. It's all handled through PayPal. It's on the up and up. I sold a few of those this week. I want to give a shout out to everyone who picked one up. I appreciate you. I got an instant message, a direct message on Twitter from one of our good dudes out there in Santa Rosa. This is a chap that goes by the name of Joe. He's called in before. He's a good pal of Gino Vega's. He called me up on the tweets and he said, "Hey, I'm over at Target. I got one of those Frankensteins for you. I'm going to put it in the layaway section, or I'm going to have somebody hold on to it for you. It's there for you to come get it." He found the one Santa Rosa Frankenstein. I had already ordered mine, but I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. It was a real good dude gesture. Nice of you. I also got a message from Engineer Nerd this week. He was at his Target over there in Uper country, and he came across a Gorn and a Frankenstein, and he messaged me. That was nice to be thinking of your dude, man. That's always good. I'm not going to take any calls or texts this week. I'm going to try to stick on the point. We gotta move along. I picked up a Richie Cunningham Mego. This is from Wave 2. He is, of course, from Happy Days fame. In the face, to me, I've opened him since the last time we talked and goofed around with him a bit. In the face, he looks a bit like... He does look like Richie if you look close. But to me, more on the surface level, he looks like KJ Apa from Riverdale. I saw the Riverdale premiere. I'll talk about that in a sec. But the thing that's weird to me is his hair is brown, but I don't know, that's not really okay. You know, it should be more red. If he was more red, it would look straight up Archie. Maybe that's why I'm going in that direction. I'm playing with him right now. He has his high school varsity jacket. It's a nice jacket, it has a J on it. Where did he go to school? Jefferson? I don't know. His accessory is a milkshake, which makes him seem more Archie altogether, but that's neither here nor there. Again, he has some tan pants and white shoes. I like him enough. I do like Happy Days. I actually watched one of the Happy Days Halloween episodes on YouTube the other day. It was the one where they throw a Halloween party in an abandoned house there in town, and Bugs and all those dudes from whatever it was that gang was called, they crash the party and hilarity ensues. But I do like Happy Days enough. I'm not like a Happy Days fanatic. I've seen every episode, but I guess everybody has. It played in syndication here on KVHK. I think usually 2 episodes in a row. Sometimes they would play a Happy Days and a Laverne and Shirley. I like that Happy Days Laverne and Shirley combined universe. That was an early version of the Marvel universe. My favorite character out of all the combined Happy Days Laverne and Shirley universe is the Big Ragu. I do not think the Big Ragu gets the props that he so rightfully deserves.
An old friend happened to come and visit me.
You know I go from rags to riches.
I love your feet, you know that? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Carmine Ragusa.
Of the Madre Ward Dance School? What's he gonna do? Tango us to death?
Carmine Ragusa is also Golden Gloves champion of Milwaukee.
Oh, that Carmine Ragusa.
That's right.
Excuse me while I warm up for a second here.
Fonzie got all the props. Like right there, he is trying to give the Big Ragu the rub, but Fonzie got all the props as the toughest dude in that area when I don't think he was a real life shooter. I don't think that Fonzie could really throw hands, but we know that the Big Ragu can. He is the Golden Gloves champion of Milwaukee. I think that's quite a feat. Milwaukee seems like a town with a lot of fighters. You got the Bruiser, you got the Crusher, you got the Beer City Bruiser. Is that guy's name who wrestles in Ice Ribbon? I think Gino Vega is a big fan of the Bruiser. I've seen him a few times. I am always impressed with the audacity of somebody who is, by all accounts, obese and being able to go out there in a Speedo. I got to give it up. I could never. You have self-confidence that is way, way beyond mine. But I think that if you asked me, I'm going to pick the Big Ragu over the Fonz. I'm going to pick him over the Crusher. I'm going to pick him over the Bruiser. I'm going to pick him over the Beer City Bruiser. I'm going to pick him over a lot of dudes because he has that athletic ability of a dancer combined with the knockout power of a Milwaukee Golden Gloves champ. I don't know. That's just how I see it. I've never felt like the Big Ragu gets the props he deserved. I would love if in this Mego Renaissance they came out with a Carmine Ragusa with that neat embroidered jacket that says Big Ragu on the back. I just like him. I could actually see them doing a Laverne and Shirley line. That one would be all right. Now that I think about it, you get Laverne and Shirley. This is just my observation, but from what I see, it does not appear as if the gal Megos are selling as well as the guy Megos. I myself, I've only bought one. I got Samantha from Bewitched. So if you did Laverne and Shirley, you get Laverne and Shirley. You put the Laverne or Shirley out in the first series, not both. You got to wait for the second wave, and then you have Lenny, and you have Squiggy, and you have the Big Ragu, and you could even do their dad if you wanted to. I could see that being all right. I think I would buy both Lenny and Squiggy. I kind of feel like I know I would. I'd probably get the dad, and I know for sure I'd be getting Carmine Ragusa. Mego, Marty Abrams, since I know you're a listener of the show, consider that. Don't consider it, do it. I think it's a good idea.
You are listening to the Toys R Us Report. There is nothing we won't try. Never heard the word impossible. This time there's no stopping us. We're doing it our way.
Ensign Melissa, we miss you, TROY. She's up there floating around in a Sanka can. I miss her all the time. That was a great bit. Laverne and Shirley was a really fun show. Their song was so positive. What else is popping off? Oh, I saw the premiere of Riverdale. I like Riverdale a lot. It's completely ludicrous. If somebody like, let's say my dad is an old school Archie fan. When I was reading like the Green Arrow or the Mike Grell Longbow Hunters or whatever, he would come up to me and try to relate and tell me how he liked Archie as a kid. I like Archie too, so we did have something to relate on that level. But let's just say, like an old school Archie fan like my dad caught me watching Riverdale. And he's like, "Oh, that's Archie's show? What's going on?" And I told him, "Well, Jughead's the leader of a biker gang. Archie's on trial for murder. Hiram Lodge is part of the Mexican drug cartels." He would be like, what the heck? And I got to say, what the heck too, but the show is entertaining. This week, though, on the premiere, we got to see some neat Archie imagery. We got to see Archie in a bow tie. We have yet to see that. While he was on trial for murder, he was wearing a bow tie. He and Betty together worked on the famed jalopy, the red jalopy that Archie traditionally drives. They worked on that, so we got to see Betty working on cars, which was neat. And then they drove in the jalop with a Jughead. It was pretty neat as far as that goes. It's a fun show. It's completely ludicrous and has very little to do with Archie, but I do enjoy it. I saw the premiere of Flash. They introduced the Flash's daughter from the future. Her name is XS. She looks to be like 3 feet tall. She's very, very short, the actress who is playing her. I always like The Flash. The Flash is fun. I haven't seen the Black Lightning yet. I did watch Arrow. I have to also say, I skipped almost the entire last season of Arrow. It's too murderous for my taste, but I heard they were doing this angle where the Green Arrow gets sent to prison. Oliver Queen gets sent to prison, and that reminded me of that movie Supermax. There was this movie Supermax floating around the DC film universe for years. It never saw production. The idea was that Oliver Queen gets sent to prison, and he's surrounded by all the dudes that he puts in there. He forms an alliance with Deathstroke, with Slade, I think is what I recall about the Supermax script. Like, there's a script and everything, and the movie almost entered production a couple times, but it never came to be. So when I heard that Ollie was going to be in the Clink, I wanted to check that out. I did like the first episode. I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna stick with it. It's not exactly my taste. It's not what I want out of Oliver Queen, but that's fine. The show's lasted for years, so they must know what they're doing. It's nearing the final days. It has to be. I kind of feel as if the whole CW universe is kind of in a lot of ways entering its last few years. I don't know how many more years they can get out of The Flash. The Flash is really fun, but I don't know. The one that seems like it has the potential to last the longest is Legends of Tomorrow. They have this whole like time travel thing, like sliders, and you could keep cranking these out from now till forever. What else is popping off? The first episode of the POS, that's the patron-only show. That is a show exclusively on Patreon, done by me, has been getting pretty good reviews so far. I've heard from a few people who have checked it out. They said it was pretty fun. Episode 2 is like way, way, way better. The one I'm working on now, episode 3, is even better than that. It's pretty much me just kind of winging it and stuff. It's pretty fun. The episode 2 will drop on the 29th. Not the 29th. Yeah, it'll be the 29th of October. That's a couple days before a good old Halloween. I guess that's next week from here. So if you are a patron, keep your eye out for that. That's the POS. It'll be out Monday the 29th, episode 2. Episode 2 is pretty fun. Gino Vega's on it. I got some stuff with my family on there. You can hear some weird conversation that we had that I accidentally recorded. It's pretty fun overall. You want to get down with that, and to do so, all you got to do is head over to supportthereport.com, and you can get into it for as little as $1 a month. I'm going to try to get one of these out every 2 weeks. I think I should be able to do it. I don't see why not. It's not impossible. I kind of just record when I'm just by myself, hanging out in the garage. It's fun. A lot of times that I do it, I'm playing Miss Pac-Man or copying commercials off videotapes into the digital realm for IC Robots Television. If you're not down with IC Robots Television, check that out. That's my little YouTube deal. It's more or less just commercials and TV bumpers and stuff that I that I've copied off of videotapes that I have, videotapes I find at the dig. Just go to YouTube, type I See Robots Television to the bar. It's the first thing that comes up. Or you can go to ICRobots.com, and I got it on the sidebar. It's on the right. What else? What else is going on? Next week, the 31st, is of course Halloween. We will not have a new show that week. We grant ourselves the luxury of taking holidays off, and Halloween is one of the grandest of all the holidays. So that week, we're going to give you a classic episode from the past, the one in which me and Iceberg go ghost hunting at the haunted Toys R Us up there in California. It's great. We drive there in a jalopy. We talk about music. It's a lot of fun, and I think that you will enjoy it. So this is going to be me signing off, saying Happy Halloween to you guys. If you live in the neighborhood where there are trick-or-treaters, be generous with the candy, man. Give away full-size candy bars. Give away old comic books that you don't like. That's an idea I've been batting around. I got so many comic books that I don't want that I thought maybe I should just drop these in people's trick-or-treat bags as a way to maybe get them hooked on the old habit of the floppy books. I don't know. It's something to think about. So I guess this is it. For me, for Engineer Emily, for Iceberg, Dr. Jane Walsh, for Ensign Kate, for Ensign Melissa, rest in peace. This is episode number 173, the Halloween one. So if you don't know, I know.
We only have one rule on this team. What is that rule, Twiggy?
ELE.
That's right, ELE. What does ELE stand for?
Everybody love everybody.
Everybody love everybody. Right there up on the wall.
This has been an IC Robots radio production. IC Robots Radio is a listener-supported endeavor. If you like what we do and we make your day a little easier, please consider tossing a few bucks our way to help keep the life support running. All money collected goes to help us prepare for future space pirate attacks. Go on over to supportthereport.com for all the details. Thanks and have a great week.
49er superstar Jim Plunkett battles a sports fan on Pro Fan tonight at 11:30 on KBHK TV, Channel 44 in San Francisco.